feel like all these looter shooters and all this kind of stuff, they're not going to go away, but they've become the hair metal. They've become the 80s hair metal of gaming. This feels like, you know, the grunge rock or the alternative band or the new heavy metal band coming in and being like, this is how we're going to do this now. You know, this is how we're going to play our music. We're not going to do hair metal. We are at the end of October, and that means we're approaching Game Awards season. Kind of Game Awards season right now. Usually what that means for me every year is I try to go catch up on my backlog, try to at least check out a few games I didn't get the chance to check out that other people are raving about and whatnot. And going back and revisiting games that I did get to play earlier in the year and see if they still hold up. Of course, I had to go back and check out Clair Obscur again, just to see if it was still hitting on all cylinders, see if it was still as great as I remembered it. And it is. It's actually better than I remember it. Like, it ages like a fine wine. And since it is very French, it makes sense to, you know, age like a fine wine. Getting back into the game and playing through it, and, you know, just how well crafted the game is, how great the battle system is, it made me really think, you know, it made an impact on me as far as, like, you know, I've always been a turn-based RPG fan, but I was like, man, I really hope this gets people into turn-based RPGs, and in fact, it has. And the impact it's made on the industry can't be understated. It took turn-based RPGs and kind of reintroduced it to a market that A, had never played them, or B, had only heard of them. Well, that's kind of the same thing. Or, you know, those of us who remembered it fondly looked at turn-based RPGs as something that was kind of fading into obscurity. Clair Obscur, right? That's not what Clair Obscur means, but it's just kind of a play on words. I think that it really brought it back to the forefront. Companies like Square Enix and other companies were interested to see how they went about this. It's made an impact. It's made an immediate impact. A style of game with turn-based RPGs that had been relegated to remasters, quasi-remakes, and just ports, or just indie-developed games that were going on to Steam and maybe making their way onto a Switch or a PlayStation or the Xbox, you know, developed by independent companies, but there were no AAA companies really doing that kind of thing. Your Atlases and Nihon Falcom and stuff. Some of those companies are kind of still playing in that area. This small team of 33 to 34 people said, we're going to make our game, we're going to make our game our way, and the hell with what everybody else thinks. They did it, they put their foot down, they planted their back foot, they threw their best punch. Millions and millions of copies later, they've got a bona fide hit on their hands. So, what is the impact of Clair Obscur Expedition 33? I think it can't be measured. I think we're still seeing it play out. Like, as we see other companies kind of refocus and kind of realign what they see as a hit, what they see that they can do. They can still make a turn-based RPG. Role-playing games still have a valid place in today's market. And with companies more and more looking for new ideas, maybe some of the new ideas are found in the old ideas. That's kind of what Clair Obscur represented to me personally anyway. Like, we get so far down the line, what's the next progression? What's the next thing in game development? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Sometimes you gotta go back to the old stuff. You gotta go back and look at the old stuff to find the new stuff. Clair Obscur takes modern gameplay and puts that old school turn-based twist on it, and it is done beautifully. Other companies like Atlas have been doing this with Persona and games like it, but this is the one. This feels like a touchstone, and I say that because so many people came out, because it's an independent company, and so many people came out in full force to support it. And they weren't just supporting, it's like, oh, these people are an underdog, they need our support, let's go buy this game. It started that way, but it became, oh wait, it's actually extremely good. It's actually fantastic. It's not just let's support them because they're an underdog. That was true, but it's actually amazing. We've seen the impact even with like the Game Awards Inc. and like how they go about presenting things, like the focus, the extreme focus on independently published and developed games from Summer Games Fest. I think we're going to see that trend continue on into the Game Awards. I'm going to call that the Sandfall effect. Sandfall Interactive, I mean, there were independent companies before that. I'm not trying to pretend there wasn't, but on this scale, with this small of a team, this looks like a huge company made this game. I mean, you could have easily said Ubisoft made this game and you would have believed it. These people came from Ubisoft. Well, many of them did. While it's evident that these are very professional workers, it's still a small team. People don't understand how many people it takes to typically make a game like this. They did it. They got it done, and it's to be commended. And people are taking notice, like especially people like Jeff Keighley and his team, and other people and other publications and things. They're really grabbing a hold of who's the next Sandfall Interactive, what's going to be the next project, what's going to be the next big project, what's going to be the next big thing to come out. We're looking. They're sifting. They're like prospectors with their pans in the creek. They're sifting. They're trying to find the right one. The impact on independent production value, visibility for productions, it's off the charts. And the impact it's having on major companies. Major companies are taking a look, like I said earlier, about how they can make a turn-based RPG. Is this possible? Will this fit in with our plans? Final Fantasy VII may be getting retooled. We don't know what's going on with those things, but it's easy to sit back and say, oh, it was just an independent thing. No, it is a big deal. It's a big deal. This doesn't happen. And I really, there was a lot of great games that came out this year, but I really feel like that 2025, especially if you're an RPG fan like myself, that's what we do on this channel, right? But it can't be understated that 2025 was the Clair Obscur year for us in this community, and I think we're going to see that play out, especially in awards season. I think it's going to play out big. And the other thing, like, I think about old rock documentaries. I remember there was a great quote from Tom Petty when Nirvana hit the scene in '91. He said, he was talking about hair metal bands. He was like, when Nirvana hit, it was the sickle before the wheat. You are done as far as like hair bands go. I feel like all these looter shooters and all this kind of stuff, they're not going to go away, but they've become the hair metal. They've become the 80s hair metal of gaming. Like, they really have. Like, this feels like, you know, the grunge rock or the alternative band or the new heavy metal band coming in and being like, this is how we're going to do this now. You know, this is how we're going to play our music. We're not going to do hair metal. You know, we're not going to be Fortnite and all this other stuff. 80s hair metal. You know, we're not going to do that anymore. This is what we're doing. This is the sickle before the wheat. That is done. You know, I think people are really looking at, can we do more high-end, story-driven, narrative-felt games? Now, I know everybody does. It's still a thing, but it's not as popular as people might think. You know, God of War has its fans, Last of Us, you know, whatever. PlayStation does a great job with story games, but a lot of other companies don't, you know, and a lot of other publishers don't. Everybody's looking for the next big, you know, it was Battle Royale, 5 years ago? The big Battle Royales, they were everywhere. And looter shooters are everywhere, you know. And not only that, this is maybe a topic for another video, but fighting games are on the come up again. People love fighting games, and fighting games get more diverse. I think we're seeing the same effect for story-driven, turn-based RPGs, or at least with turn-based mechanics, because I think there's a lot of ground to cover there. And for all of those people in my comments, I see all the time they're talking about, you know, remasters and remakes and so much stuff coming out all the time. This is the other part of Clair Obscur's impact. People are going to be more willing to roll the dice on a new IP. That's what this was. I always have a weird time pointing to the right thing. That's what this was. New IP, new ideas. New ideas not just from a storytelling standpoint and a game development standpoint, but from what type of game we want to make. New ideas on how to run your business, how to conduct the pipeline of developing a game. There are so many other layers to what they've done. It's staggering. More on the impact. And creating an impact on how infrastructure works. With, you don't need, like, you don't have to have everything be a AAA title. You can do sweet AA titles. It's a video game at the end of the day. Tell me a great story. Let me have a good time with it. It doesn't need to look like I'm playing through a movie. And a lot of times, I don't even want that. That means higher production costs, longer development times. I don't need that. And many of you don't need that. Let's prioritize infrastructure for your funding, your development, the other things that go into the key factors that go into developing a game. Let's prioritize that more for AA titles. And let's prioritize the need for real art, visual storytelling. Get back to that. And like really focus on the quality of doing that in a AA realm. Because I think that's what another area of the impact of Clair Obscur is going to be. This is a AA title. It's not a AAA title, it's AA. But it's fantastic. The way they manage the business of making this game, the pipeline, the development cycle, the funding, all that kind of stuff, coupled with the artistry, telling their story, the score, the music, the visuals, how everything was put together. Focus that stuff into a AA realm, and you can crank out more games that are high quality, and you don't have to wait 5 or 6 years after a game's announced to get it. You can get it in 2 or 3 years, and you're getting a great gameplay experience. I'm still playing Clair Obscur. I've got like 150, 160 hours on it. I'm still playing it. I play it in my spare time when I can. The impact on quality. Quality can't be understated. So if you look at how they did their business, how they're going about the business of keeping their quality high, keeping the business in line, infrastructure, costs, development cycle, all that kind of stuff, taking care of the people, keeping the team small. That's all internal stuff. And then you look at the impact that it's made with the gaming community. The community, me and you playing the games, and also the gaming business, the people out there producing, other companies, advertising, media, all that kind of stuff. I've never seen a game like on this level create this whirlwind and this buzz. Even like later in the year of its release, we're still talking about it. I think it should win the Game of the Year. Not just because it was the Game of the Year, but because the impact it has had. It's impressive. Like being so critically accepted and so universally accepted among like the common gamers like you and me, the fans, just really appreciating the story and the impact it's made on its writing, its storytelling. This is my last point, because for me, this is the most potent point of this game. Taking real life issues. This game, you can tell, it wasn't written by fans of a thing. It was written by people who are fans of a thing who have gone through things. Now I'm not saying everybody hasn't gone through things, but it's hard to write your life experiences into fiction, what you're doing. Not everybody can do it well. We've all gone through things, but not everybody can convey that stuff properly. This game does that. You know exactly the themes of the game. You feel what the writers and the creators were feeling when they put these moments into these games. And a lot of times they didn't have to say a word. The most emotional moments of the game were delivered through the cinematography, the shots, getting to know the characters, and seeing a look on a character's face. It was insane. It was just insane. The impact that this had, and I've said impact a lot, but that's how it feels like. The impact can't be understated across the board. You look at the artistry it took to create the game, what went into making it, crafting the narrative, the visuals, developing the technical side of the game, how all that works, and the media, the other companies who have looked at what they've done for themselves, put themselves in a position where they can make any game they want for the next 10 years, 2 or 3 times over. And you've got a new IP established. Clair Obscur is a franchise. There's a real possibility for a franchise, a brand new franchise in an age of remasters and remakes, which I enjoy a lot of the remasters and remakes that come out. But let's be real, a new franchise to not only release, but thrive in this current environment, almost unheard of at this point, unless it's like an indie game that, a few 100,000 to 1 million people play on their devices and word of mouth spreads over a couple of years. This was like a meteor hitting a planet. No pun intended, but it was. And the way they borrowed from different things to tell their story, but told their own story. Like you could recognize things they were borrowing from, but it didn't take you out of the story. That's another hard thing to do in a narrative. So, impactful across the board. I think this is one of the most impactful games, stories, pieces of media in the last 20 years. It really is, because you've already got people wanting the rights to do the movies. Like after the game came out, people were like, movie rights. Let's do it. You've got companies wanting to know how they can do their version of this. You've got other companies scrapping plans. I'm not talking about big companies. I'm talking about smaller independent publishers, mid-tier people, scrapping plans they had, reworking things because they loved this so much. They're like, you know what? Let's do that. Most impactful game of the year for me. Probably most impactful game in the last 20 years. I mean, it's kind of a zeitgeist of this gaming generation, really. I said before, you know, all of us that were around in 97 when FF7 came out, in Final Fantasy 7, when it came out, now you've got your version of that. Now you're like, man, I was there when Clair Obscur came out. That was crazy. Like 20 years from now, you'll be telling people, yeah, it was crazy when that game came out. It was everywhere. People were loving it. People were playing it. We were all talking about it. Yeah, man. So, anyway, that's my take. I got more takes on the year in gaming coming out, but that was the one I wanted to cover today. But post your comments below. Let me know what you think. What was your most impactful game of the year? Do you agree with me on this? Do you disagree with me on this? Let me know in the comments. Throw a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, you all have a great day. Be safe. Be good to each other. Keep rocking. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care of yourselves.